They say some voices never fade. They linger, buried in static and time, waiting for the one heart still meant to hear them. Tonight, we follow one of those voices. A message left 15 years before its listener was even born. This is the voice on her old answering machine. Before we begin, you're watching Soulthread, where every story remembers. Kindly like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's begin. The snow had been falling since dawn, soft and soundless, the kind that blurs the world into white silence. Clara stepped out of her car and stared at the house that once belonged to her grandmother, a house she'd only visited twice as a child, both times with her mother's warning not to touch anything inside. Now it was hers. Every wall, every creaking stair, every ghost. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and something older, the scent of closed rooms and forgotten winters. She brushed the dust from the hallway mirror and almost didn't recognize herself in it. There was something unsettling about standing in a place that remembered you more than you remembered it. She moved slowly through the house, turning on lights one by one, until she found it. A small wooden table near the living room window, where an old answering machine sat beneath a lace cover, the kind with tiny cassettes inside. Curious, she plugged it in. The red light blinked once. Then again, one new message. Clara pressed play. A crackle of static filled the room. Then, a man's voice, soft, uncertain, and trembling. "Mara, if you're hearing this, something's gone wrong. I tried to stop it. I really did. But if she finds out..." The tape clicked, distorted. The rest was lost. Clara froze. Mara was her grandmother's name. But the voice... She knew that voice. It couldn't be. Her heart thudded as she leaned closer to the machine. The message timestamp blinked faintly in red digits. March 4th, 1990. Clara felt the air leave her lungs. She hadn't been born until 2005. And yet the voice, that strange, familiar voice, had spoken her name. Outside, snow drifted quietly against the window. Inside, time had begun to stir. For the next 2 days, Clara barely slept. The message replayed in her mind like a heartbeat. "Mara, if you're hearing this, something's gone wrong." That single line sat heavy in her chest, haunting and unfinished. On the third morning, the snow had begun to melt. Patches of brown earth peeked through, and icicles dripped softly from the porch roof. She took it as a sign. Something was thawing, both outside and within her. In town, she found a small repair shop called Elias Audio and Antiques. The sign was faded, hand-painted, and half buried in snow. Inside, the air smelled of warm dust and old vinyl. Behind the counter stood a man in his 30s, tall, quiet-eyed, with headphones around his neck. "Can I help you?" he asked. Clara hesitated, then placed the answering machine on the counter. "I need to restore a message," she said. "It's old, really old. And I think it's..." She stopped. He nodded gently. "You came to the right place." His name was Elias Hart. He worked carefully, almost reverently, as he opened the machine. The hum of the tape reels filled the silence. "Strange," he murmured. "This cassette's magnetic layer is degrading, but there's a secondary imprint." Clara frowned. "Meaning?" "It means," Elias said slowly, adjusting a dial, "that someone recorded over this, twice. But part of the original message still lingers underneath. Like an echo." He turned up the volume. A faint layer of sound emerged beneath the static, a woman's voice, low and hurried. "Don't let her know about the lake, please." Then silence again. Clara felt her hands tremble. "The lake?" she whispered. Elias glanced at her. "You know what that means?" She shook her head. "No, but my grandmother's ashes were scattered by a lake, a place I've never been." Elias leaned back, thoughtful. Maybe that's where the echo comes from. Outside, the snow had begun to soften into rain, the first whisper of spring. Inside, two strangers sat surrounded by static and ghosts, unaware that the voice on that old machine was about to pull both their lives into a secret neither was meant to uncover. The drive to the lake took 2 hours. By the time they reached it, the snow had thinned into mist. Bare trees stretched their limbs over the water, and the surface, half frozen, half melting, mirrored a dull, silvery sky. This was her favorite place, Clara murmured, stepping out of the car. The air smelled faintly of pine and something older, like forgotten rain. "My grandmother used to paint this view." Elias carried the small box with the cassette and recorder. "If she scattered the ashes here, Maybe there's something left, some trace. Clara smiled faintly. You talk like a ghost hunter. He chuckled. I work with echoes, remember? They set up near the old dock. The wooden boards groaned beneath their feet, and when Elias played the tape again, the sound of wind and static mingled with the soft lapping of water. But then, just beneath the static, another voice emerged. A man this time. Calm, sad, resolute. If she ever finds the truth, tell her I never meant for it to end like this. Tell her the accident wasn't her fault. Clara's breath caught. Whose voice is that? Elias froze. His face had gone pale. He removed his headphones slowly. That's my father's voice. The words hung heavy between them, suspended in the cold air. Clara stepped back, confused. Your father? Elias nodded, dazed. He died 15 years ago, drowned in this very lake. The world seemed to tilt. The old dock creaked beneath their feet, as if time itself had exhaled. Clara knelt beside the recorder, the snow melting under her palms. Then why was he calling my grandmother? Why mention me? Elias looked out over the frozen water. Maybe because he knew this message would find you one day. The tape clicked to a stop, the silence that followed deeper than before. Somewhere beneath that still surface, the lake seemed to breathe, holding secrets too patient for the living. That night, neither of them could sleep. Elias stayed at the house, too shaken to drive back. They sat by the fire, the crackle of wood mixing with the faint hum of the old answering machine. Clara ran her fingers along its edges. Your father, my grandmother, the same lake. That can't be coincidence. Elias stared into the flames. He was a park ranger then. Said he was investigating something about a property dispute near the lake. But after he died, my mother wouldn't talk about it. She burned most of his things. Clara's gaze lifted. Most? He nodded slowly. Except one box. I never opened it. Moments later, he brought it from his car, a weathered tin box, dented at the corners, labeled March 1990. Inside were a few letters, a photograph, and a second cassette tape. Clara's hands trembled as she placed it into the machine. The tape clicked, hissed, and began to play. A woman's voice filled the room. Older, broken. It was Mara's. Jonah, if you're listening, I told you not to come. You don't understand what's at stake. The child isn't mine, not in the way you think. If she ever learns the truth, she'll hate us both. But I can't keep her hidden forever. The tape clicked. The rest was silence. Elias leaned forward. Jonah, that's my father's name. Clara's voice faltered. Then, the child she mentioned. They both fell silent. Only the fire spoke, hissing softly as the wood shifted. Elias turned to her, his expression unreadable. You were born in 2005. My father died in 1990. How could he? Clara shook her head. I don't know, but somehow, they were both protecting someone. Maybe not from guilt, but from truth. The snow outside had turned to rain. It streaked the window like faint handwriting, lines of a story the weather itself wanted to erase. Elias looked at the flame, his voice low. If that child wasn't yours, then who was she talking about? Clara met his gaze. I think, she whispered, she was talking about me. And as the fire dimmed to embers, the second tape stopped spinning, leaving only the sound of two hearts realizing they were bound long before they ever met. Morning came quietly. The world outside the windows was drenched in pale sunlight, the snow mostly gone, replaced by soft glimmers of melting frost. It felt as though winter itself had finally exhaled. Clara sat by the window, the answering machine beside her. Elias stood near the mantel, turning Jonah's old photograph in his hands. He looked younger in it, strong, kind, and holding a camera instead of a ranger's badge. There's one last message on the first tape, Elias said. He pressed play. The static was heavy this time, like a storm caught in the reel. Then came Jonah's voice, fragile but steady. Mara, if anything happens to me, tell her I forgive you. Tell her I never wanted the lie, only the chance to know her. If she ever asks who she is, tell her she was loved before she was born. Clara closed her eyes. The words sank deep, like stones into still water. Loved before she was born. Elias's voice was quiet. He wasn't talking about you. He was talking to you. The truth unraveled gently, painfully, like threads slipping free of a spool. Mara and Jonah had been in love, forbidden, complicated love. When tragedy struck and Jonah's wife drowned at the lake, guilt consumed them both. Mara fled, hiding the truth, and the child that came after. That child was Clara. The room felt weightless. The silence stretched until Clara finally spoke. My mother never told me. Maybe she didn't know either. Elias knelt beside her, his expression torn between shock and compassion. That makes us what, then? She smiled faintly, eyes glistening. Maybe just two people who inherited the same unfinished story. He nodded, the weight between them softening. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight touched the porch, gold and fragile. Clara rewound the tape one last time. Jonah's voice played softly, not as a ghost now, but as a goodbye. Some things aren't meant to haunt. They're meant to guide you home. The tape clicked. Silence again. But this time, it didn't feel empty. A week later, the lake was almost free of ice. The air carried the scent of thawed earth and pine needles, the kind of stillness that follows an ending and feels, somehow, like a beginning. Clara stood at the edge of the dock, holding the small answering machine. Elias waited a few steps behind her, hands in his pockets, watching as the water rippled in gentle circles. "This is where it all began," she said softly, "and maybe where it's meant to rest." She pressed play one last time. The machine hummed, static whispering like breath against wind. Then Jonah's voice surfaced, faint, fading, but still there. "Mara, if she ever finds this, tell her I never left. I've been here all along." The tape wound to its end. The reel stopped spinning. Clara smiled through the tears she didn't bother to hide. Elias stepped beside her. "Do you think they ever forgave themselves?" She looked out over the water. Maybe forgiveness isn't about forgetting. Maybe it's just finding peace in the echo. Together, they placed the answering machine at the water's edge. The tide lapped gently against it, pulling the reflection of the sky across its surface, blue and endless. As they turned to leave, a single sound drifted through the air, not from the machine, but from somewhere deeper. A hum, a low, tender note that seemed to belong to both the past and now. For a long moment, they stood still, letting the silence wrap around them like closure. When they finally walked away, spring sunlight glimmered on the thawed path. Clara glanced back once and whispered, "Thank you." The lake stayed quiet. The story, finally, was done speaking. Some voices never fade, because they were never meant to. They live inside us, reminding us that even in silence, the heart remembers. You've been watching Soulthread, where every story remembers. If this one touched you, please like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from tonight?